Why does it always have to end?
What's up, guys? Today we're talking about Keeper, written by Lepard and directed by Osgood Perkins. In Keeper, a couple vacations to a family cabin to celebrate a relationship milestone. Liz, Tatiana Maslany, soon discovers that boyfriend Malcolm, Rossif Sutherland, has less romantic and more nefarious reasons for dragging her out to the middle of nowhere for their anniversary. Before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and drop a spoiler warning, so now's your time to pause this video, go watch Keeper, and then come back and let me tell you how to feel about it. Now, can I interest you in a piece of seemingly innocent chocolate cake? Hot off the tail of The Monkey and 2024's sensational Longlegs, Osgood Perkins presents Keeper as a middle ground tonally between those two films. While I liked Keeper more than I liked The Monkey, it wasn't by much, and its best don't meet the heights of Longlegs. Keeper is very much like the chocolate cake presented to Liz later in the movie, a decadent slow burn that you keep eating and eating until you start to feel sick from overconsumption. It can sometimes feel a little high on its own supply, but it's not a complete letdown by any means, and I'm happy to say that at the very least it's interesting and looks beautiful with a wonderful performance from Tatiana Maslany, if not a bit undercooked and overly vague in plotting and pacing. Maslany does terrific work here, truly magnetic on screen. Liz is a challenging character to follow, but Maslany makes mountains out of molehills and convinces the audience to strap in. In the more hallucinogenic intro sequence, a voyeuristic gaze illuminates several different women who appear flummoxed, defiant, or in peril. There's something generational going on as each woman is framed in different clothing, lighting, and set pieces. Time is beginning to feel warped. Expositional FaceTime dialogue with Liz and her friend explain that Liz has historically struggled with relationships and has yet to let her current boyfriend know that she wants kids as they rapidly approach an anniversary celebration. Though I felt the movie was purposefully confusing in its presentation, I genuinely can't remember if they've been together for a month or a year. It's just never clear. Off the bat though, we know this relationship is fraught, which becomes more apparent once we get more time with boyfriend Malcolm. Now, with this character, and I don't know if this was Oz's direction or just how Rossif Sutherland performed him, maybe a combo of both, I fucking hated this guy. He spoke in an infuriating cadence where anytime he showed up on screen, I just wanted to shake him. Just the way he spoke to Liz was so gaslighty and controlling. Like he would just never be clear with her or answer her questions. Maslany does such great work with her face alone in their scenes, but what's confusing about it is that there really is no world where I could ever see her finding this man attractive or likable. Perhaps that speaks more to her character's self-esteem, that she is willing to let him talk to her like this and treat her this way simply because this is the longest she's held onto a relationship. His performance is fitting for his ultimate fate, and really it is kind of what holds the movie together to a degree. Hating this guy and wanting his comeuppance kept me seated in the admittedly thrilling tension Oz and co concoct on screen. A series of interruptions keep things moving, the first one being Malcolm's cousin Darren arriving at their family cabin. Maslany is magnificent in these scenes, the kind of controlled contempt hidden under a smile a girlfriend may have when their boyfriend's annoying friend arrives to harsh their mellow. And we meet Darren's foreign model Minka, who mentions only one thing in their meeting, gesturing towards the mysterious caretaker's left behind cake. It tastes like shit. Liz happens to hate chocolate cake, and Malcolm should know that, but he coaxes her further and is feeding on her insecurity, so she ends up eating it. She wakes up later to devour the rest for unclear until later reasons. From there, the movie takes off like a sugary syrup-induced nightmare. Lepard's script isn't bad by any means, but the way these characters speak feels so jilted and off-putting. Even in a David Lynch movie, characters that talk like this are more compelling and interesting to watch. Having just watched The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Lanthimos' scripts and actors feel weird in a similar way, but I'm not sure Lepard had a grasp on how to make these characters pop, especially Malcolm. There's a way that you could have made these characters work better, but admittedly that weirdness does add to the tension. Also, once we learn that he's having an affair or already married, this felt strange too and insulting to Liz. How did she not figure this out for so long? Or was she aware and just chose not to believe it? It functions, but feels undercooked. Keeper looks and sounds incredible. Cinematographer Jeremy Cox makes every nook and cranny of this cabin and the forest exterior look immaculate and intriguing. Each scene is framed masterfully, some reminding me of some of the best scenes in the beginning of Longlegs, my eyes flitting corner to corner waiting for something to pop into frame. There are some impressive cross dissolves, one especially involving Liz in a bathtub as a river ripples in underneath, water crashing over the rocks. It's so startlingly beautiful and freshly experimental. The visual style is very funny, and there's something so Lynchian in the second act when Liz hallucinates two versions of Minka. Feels like a scene straight out of Firewalk with Me. Cox's control of the lens makes the cabin feel alive and claustrophobic. It truly helps keep you engaged with with what's happening, even if Perkins insists on unnecessary cues. The house itself is made ethereal, its layout changing with every frame. Cox embellishes on Oz's earthiness. Liz is surrounded by nature, but a lot of the terror is in the seemingly peaceful pine trees and homely, lingering shadows, symbolizing Liz's fear of loneliness as nature surrounds her. Ido von Bremann's score aids in the haunting atmosphere of this freaky cabin, hammering in the haunted house horror. The sound design is immaculate as well, furthering the already palpable tension of the movie. The film certainly embodies the idea of slow burn terror, but it's a little too slow. Because of this, the horrors presented on screen feel unearned. The movie ends 3 times too many, and I wonder if there's an 85-minute cut of this that works better, so it could be that the issue is in the editing. There is a really eerie scene in the woods when somehow Minka is scooped up and carried up a tree by something, but you can't really see it. The movie admittedly is restrained in revealing its mystery, so as the shadows in the house move about with Liz, you are constantly wondering what exactly these creatures are. And that would have been even more effective to let us wonder for longer. But in an unbelievably ridiculous exposition dump from Malcolm, we find out that he's basically been sacrificing women over the centuries to creatures he keeps in the cabin so that he can live forever. In what I assume is the 1700s or the 1800s, Malcolm and his brother shot a pregnant woman who was a part of some kind of crazed witch cult, and she gave birth to these creatures that he is now entrapped. I hated this in Longlegs, and I hated it here. It feels anticlimactic, so that when we do finally get a release, it feels more like a deflated balloon squeaking off into the horizon. That said, the set pieces in the ending are spectacular. The basement sequence where Liz awakens after we find out that she's essentially the reborn mother of these creatures is magnificently spooky. I do wish they had relied more on practical effects in these sections, but the digital monsters are frightening enough and fun to gaze at. Eventually the table is turned on Malcolm. Liz finally gets what she's always wanted: demonic, Slender Man-looking children. Then, in what I cannot argue isn't a terrific ending, Malcolm hanging from a tree and rapidly aging, Liz dips his head into a jar of amber liquid and he suffocates. Good for her. You go, Liz. I promise I didn't hate this movie. I enjoy Perkins as a director and truly believe he has a keen eye for horror imagery. His movies consistently pop with life and color, and his actors are always game to match his vision. Along with Cox and his editing team, he concocts a stressful horror landscape for Maslany to stretch her acting muscles across. And for how much I hated Sutherland's character, it's the performance of the movie I am weirdly fascinated by and can't stop thinking about. But it is really in the story that the movie loses you. Motives and intentions are never clear until they are made abundantly clear, and it doesn't feel like the characters themselves are making these decisions in that established world. It can feel very point A to point B, and it took me out of the movie a few too many times. Given the naturalism surrounding Liz, the horror of the movie never feels as natural in the way it wants to. While there are many themes and ideas presented on the surface, such as toxic relationships, gaslighting, the way women's bodies are used and thrown away, grief and absentee parents, which Perkins is huge on, the movie's messaging is flatly obvious and bleak. Liz may get some revenge, but she's still alone out in the forest with these monstrous children that she didn't ask for. Still, Keeper is a perfectly functional and moody horror movie. The story is simple and effective, even if the relationship dynamics aren't great, and it so obviously telegraphs its own revelations. I definitely wouldn't eat that mysterious cake that probably has flesh baked into it, but if you choose to, maybe something interesting might happen. Keeper feels classical in how it presents itself, akin to Rosemary's Baby, but modern in its natural gothic appeal, similar to Damien McCarthy's Oddity. It's a dark fairy tale of flavor Perkins revels in. At the end of the day, he is a director whose work always intrigues me. There's a clear through line of personality in his films, of personalness, and his vision as an auteur is developing. He's working through some real relatable trauma in the ways he showcases these characters. Something is holding him back from greatness, as with these last 3 movies, he has been on the precipice of genius. But for now, Keeper is a solid folky horror feature that offers some genuine scares, beautiful scenery, and immaculate atmosphere, and if you liked his previous films, you'll find something to dig into here. While this movie may not be an absolute keeper, I'll still take a slice of the next cake Oz bakes. What did you think of Keeper? Is it your new favorite Osgood Perkins movie, or were you bored by its strange atmosphere and slow burn affairs? Leave all the comments below, and before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. Until next time, to quote Peggy Lee, I don't want to play in your yard. I don't like you anymore. And you'll be sorry when you see me sliding down our cellar door.